Okay, hello all my fellow boaters. This is Matt, the outboard guy, and I want to show you basically how I winterize my motors. This year I waited too long. I like to do it right at the end of the season. I like to change the gear case oil. Basically, I want it all winterized, but yet ready in the spring when boating season starts here in Seattle, Washington. So as I go through these steps, I'm going to do it with the engine off. The engine is warm. And I'm going to also teach you a few more things. Right now I have my salt away, and it's on the rinse setting. There's 3 settings on it: rinse, off, and soap, basically, or salt away. I've got another off valve right there to kind of control it a little bit. I have my muffs installed from the prop side, so you'll have to take the prop off. And I've got it nye-tied for extra support. Now, that still doesn't always work. I want to warn you now, because you have to pay attention to it. Otherwise, it could slip off and you have no cooling. So, every year at the end of the summer, or in this case, probably mid-fall, I pull the motor, or I pull the boat, and this is a boat that sits on the buoy for a lot of the summer, and I rinse the entire motor. And of course I'm starting and flushing it throughout the year. But a couple of things that I do that maybe not everybody does is I take that bottle of WD-40, and yes, I buy the bulk size. The little cans are ridiculous these days. They seem to lose air before all the fluid, and there's hardly any fluid in there. So alls I really do, bear with me here, is I just spray everything down. This stuff somewhat eats salt. It certainly puts a protective layer on there. And it doesn't really hurt anything. I'm pretty sure you can probably put it anywhere. Okay? Now, the other thing I have is, normally I would fog this motor, but I ran out of, or excuse me, I didn't bring my fogging solution from my home. This is my summer home. Okay? Now, I've purposely tuned the idle screw down. And the reason for that is so that I can show you a lean sneeze. So not only will this bottle, which by the way has double the oil in it, so it's not 50 to 1, it's more like 25 to 1, so that'll act like a fogging oil. Not quite, but it'll help coat the inside of the motor. It's also got some fuel stabilizer in it, and gasoline, obviously. So you can use the same bottle for testing the outboard. In other words, you really shouldn't use starting fluid. Okay, starting fluid is wonderful stuff, but it's not lubricating the engine. So if you're running it just on that, then that's a problem. Okay, so what I typically do is run it up to temp on the rinse cycle. So all that's doing is flushing it with water while it gets hot. We want the thermostats to open so that water's going through the entire motor before we turn it to this setting, which is rinse. Now, typically you don't want to rinse it, excuse me, until the very end. Salt away is expensive, and you don't need much. All I'm looking for is some foam coming out any of the exit points, and as soon as I see foam, I shut the motor off and I turn the water off very quickly. Remember, this is just mixing water in here, so it's a diluted solution. It's a concentrate. I can make one of those little bottles there, salt away, last for a long time. Okay, so that gets us through there. Now the tricky part is when you have fogging oil, you kind of want to wait for the bubbles and then very quickly fog the inside of the motor. And if I had the real stuff, you'd see this thing smoke like crazy. I mean, it's just like ungodly poofs of smoke, and that's when you shut it down. Okay, these smaller motors, I run them out of gas. This motor, if you're using ethanol fuel, you might want to run it out of gas. The big ones really don't allow that. So you want to fog, and you want to have stabilizer in your fuel and all that good stuff. Now the other thing, for you kind of amateurs, if you don't have an IR gun, or if you think your motor's overheating or something, what you want to do, and this is where it can be dangerous, you've got a flywheel right here, you've got wires, you've got coils, you've got all kinds of things, and all they want to do is rip you open. But the best place to touch the motor is right in that area. Okay, first I would just kind of pat the thermostat, making sure it's not scorching. And you should be able to hold your hand right here for a second or two, and it won't scald you. You may have to take your fingers off, or you may not. And that's a motor, that's an old school way of telling that the motor is not overheating. Now, since it's shut down, it's a little warmer than it was a second ago, and it's a pretty cold day. Probably around, I don't know, 49 or so. And it's been sitting here cold. Okay? So I believe that's all you need to hear. I will try to speak during the demonstration, but this is how I do it. And again, the motor may prevent me from being able to speak in the mic, but maybe not. Okay, so the first thing you do is come over and turn the water on at this valve. This is how I do it. And you make sure it popped off right there, but I've probably got more water going to it than I need. You'll see we get a lot of questions about water coming out of these seams and stuff, and it's pretty normal. I've been spraying fuel and WD-40 all over the motor, so it's coming down the rakes here, and I don't care. That's just an aesthetic issue. So with that being said, my fuel can is already primered with the primer ball, and we should be ready to go. Perfect example of a gray hose you probably shouldn't ever use, but I've been told the new stuff is okay. I'm still going with the black hose, but there you go. Okay, so now the water's on. Going over to the key, and I'll walk you through the process. Here we go. Normally you would push the key in, but this is a warmed up motor, so high idle lever is up. I don't need to push the key in, which you can do right now, and I'm going to start it. There's the lean sneeze that I talked about, and you'll listen to it clear up. That's how you know that it's running too lean. We'll let that kind of burn in there. I may even have a slight carb problem. We'll see if it clears up. So typically turn it about a quarter turn counterclockwise and then wait about 30 seconds. After that, it's still doing it. Try another quarter. Now again, I didn't really do a proper shutdown, so it might be other problems. Again, that's telling me that I have a fuel delivery problem. Luckily, I'm spraying in high lubricating fuel. It's got all that oil in it. Okay. So I didn't clear up the carb problem, but that's not what this video is for. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I said earlier. I'm going to touch the thermostat. If you had an IR gun, you would just start shooting points. But the best spot is right here. As you can see, I have no problem putting my hand there. Now if this was running much faster, that would be pretty hot. But still, you should be able to do it. Water jacket over the exhaust. Another good thing to tell. Okay, so we've covered carburetor, fogging, or in this case my fake fogging oil. Another thing you could do is open this up, might give it a little bit more fuel. We covered the whole motor, WD-40, and waited for the motor to get warm. Okay. So we're pretty close to complete, other than draining the gear case oil, making sure there's no water in it. If you find water, don't freak out. That's why you do it, so that you know that the seals need service. Your gear case will still be fine, and the gear case needs new oil after you do a seal kit. If you wait, that water's going to ruin it, and that's not good. We're getting ready for the final step. You can hear one cylinder just shut down. A little bizarre, but okay. Getting ready to shut her down. So I'm going to switch over to well, I tried the red lever and did not like that. So we're going to switch now to the final rinse and the final fogging. Here we go. I definitely flooded the motor. So here we go. Do this very quickly. We're adding soap. We're adding the salt away. And I'm kind of watching for the foam. Okay, I've got foam on the grass. So now I'm going to kill it after I go ahead and soak this thing real good. I'm coating the inside, which normally would be fogging oil, which would be better than this. Now I'm just going to flat out kill it. Boom, I shut this lever off because it's quick. So I have wasted very little. We got a lot of fuel in there. We're coated. This motor is almost ready to be stored. Now, you may notice that I kind of customized these old JohnnyRudes. At this point, since nobody's really producing them, I kind of figure that why not have a little fun, if you know what I mean. Everybody loves this boat. So anyhow, that's what you should do to your motors. Your motors have air boxes sometimes in front of the carb. That has to come off to do it correctly. But and then of course we need to grease all our fittings. Any Zerk fitting needs to be greased before it gets put away. I can't really say enough about keeping these things greased and lubricated, including all these transom clamp screws. They're aluminum and they corrode up, so I usually WD-40 and turn those in and out, and then I grease them with the blue JohnnyRude triple guard grease. I find that grease to be by far the best, but any grease is better than no grease. So that's it for now. Signing off for Matt, the outboard guy.